What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Paige with Paige, and today we're going to be doing my May wrap up. So in the month of May was Booknetathon hosted by KJ, and I'll leave a link to all the information down below, but oh my god, I had a blast. I did get a bingo, I did change where my prompts were to make this happen, but we good. I read mostly everything in order, and there was only one that I switched around, I think, and that was to a three-way spot, so it still counts. Here are my stats. So like I said, I read 11 books, which totaled to 4,007 pages. So my average pages per book was 364, and about 129 pages read per day. My average rating was a 4.2 stars, which is yes. For genres, I read 2 contemporary, 4 fantasy, 2 historical, 1 paranormal, 1 sci-fi, 1 literary fiction, and that was it. And then for consumption way, I read 3 physical books and 8 physical audiobooks. In terms of ages, I read 2 adults, 2 middle grade, 1 new adult, and 4 YA. And in terms of rating, I had 2 5 stars, 3 4.5 stars, 4 4 stars, 1 3.5 star, and 1 3 star. 6 of these were standalones and 5 of these were parts of series. My biggest book was A Court of Wings and Ruin, and my smallish book was Fly Away Peter. My listening hours was about 30 hours. I'm so happy. I really struggled throughout the month to sort of like work everything in. I had major master's assignments due, I had a lot on, my mental health still taking a dip, but that should be on the up and up now, and I'm keen. There are changes with this is going to be glorious. So yeah, I'm really proud of how I did, and let's talk about the books. So the first book I read was The House at the Edge of Magic by Amy Sparks, and this was fulfilling the Buzzwordathon prompt of house in the title, as well as fulfilling Gavin's spot on the Booknet bingo board. And this was following 9. She's an orphan, and it was really cute. I'm thinking it might be closer to a 4.5 rather than a 5 in comparison to the things that I've rated 4.5 this time, but I absolutely adored the characters. I thought the story was fantastic, and it was just overall a really whimsical and wonderful middle grade, and I wholeheartedly enjoyed it. Next up, we had Clara in the Sun by Kazuko Ishiguro, and I can't remember who this was for. And this was for my book club read. So this was Clara in the Sun, and I have applied this as my free space on the book board, mostly because I ran out of time to read my free space and I wanted to be as flexible as I could. So this is now fulfilling my free space and my book club. So yeah, I gave this a 4.5. I thought it was a beautiful exploration of what it means to be human, what it means to have life, friendship, and just I loved Clara's obsession with learning behavior and how people interact, and then the like little commentary she makes on how people react in situations and how things ended up to be. It was just absolutely gorgeous, and I had a wonderful time reading this. Next up, I read Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir and gave this also a 4.5 star. This was for my small or newbie booktuber, which was Caitlin from Mad Cheshire Rabbit, and this is one of her favorite series of all time, if not her favorite series. So I've started it and I adored it. This is following Laia and Elias, who are on opposite ends of a war. Elias is training at an academy that kills Laia's people, but Laia is working with the rebels to sort of take over. Elias doesn't want to be part of this community and is looking at deserting. Things happen, a lot goes down, and I cried many times. It was great. Thank you, Caitlin. I blame you entirely, but I had so much fun. This was such a great adventure. I loved the world building, and I can't wait to continue on with the series. Next up, I read A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I am so much trash. This is not even funny. I love this. I did give it 5 stars. How did I give this 5 stars and not Clara in the Sun? Things just hit me different. I was nervous going into this thinking that it was literally like them going to be fucking on like the battlefields, and technically that happens once, but it's at night after the fighting, and they're like trying to wind down because they're so just worked up and there's a lot of tension and just needing to chill. This was fulfilling the prompt. This was feeling novel serendipity's prompt because she likes the series, and yeah, I absolutely adore this. I can't wait to read a quote of Frost and Starlight because I just love being with these characters. They could literally be Christmas shopping, which is what I think the novella is, and I'm going to love it because I've really fallen for these characters, and yeah, I thought it was great, and just the different dynamics. Yes, just perfect. Next up we had Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers. This was fulfilling Kat from Paperback Dreams prompt because I know that she loves Courtney Summers, and I gave this a 4 stars. It was a really interesting YA contemporary that my notes are, hoo-wee lordy, that was a bloomin' ride. Take of that what you will. I found it so interesting, just the different dynamics between the characters and how it all came to be. Parker was both irritating and understandable, and I really enjoyed it. The only thing that stumped me in a lot of these books is that there were so many people vomiting, and that's not something I can do. So yeah, it just, ooh, this hit a punch, and I was prepared for it, but I wasn't. And I definitely will be picking up a lot of Courtney Summers' works. I do need to get to the project, which is her latest released about a cult, and I'm keen. Next up we had Waking Gods by Sabine Novell. This was fulfilling Rachel from Let Me in the Libraries prompt, and this is the second in the Themis Files, and holy shit, 50 pages? I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I remembered a lot about Sleeping Giants, but I didn't remember some things, so then I was like, where are we? And then I caught up, and then it was fine. So maybe read these closer together rather than spacing them out, because it was 2018 that I read Sleeping Giants, so 2019. There was a big gap between these, so yeah, my bad. It was a long while ago that I read Sleeping Giants, and I'm glad I got to this. But yeah, definitely give yourself a rehasher because there's a lot of shit that goes down, and it was like, holy dooly. I really enjoyed one of the characters in this who's very funky. Yeah, so he was talking about Squirrel. It was fucking hilarious. So really enjoyed this. I'm sorry I'm not going like super in depth. I'm a little bit pressed for time, and I just want to sort of get this out. And yeah, if you want to know like more thoughts, feel free to message me. I'm more than happy to gush about it. I think also because I wasn't in the best headspace while reading, my thoughts aren't really, I'm never cohesive in my thoughts, but they aren't as stuck as they normally are. So yeah, sorry, but also if you do want to discuss more about a particular book, if you had thoughts and feelings, just let me know. I'm more than happy to continue discussing in the comments when I respond to them. I get there eventually. The next is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, and I'm giving this 4 stars as well. This was fulfilling Ashley's from Bookish Realms spot, and I thought this was beautiful. I loved the description of Nevermore meets Men in Black. It's perfect. Like, I've never seen a book so well matched, and yeah, so this is following Mari. She lives in housing projects, and her brother has gone missing, and she's getting into a lot of trouble at school because she feels that no one's doing anything for her brother, and they're all talking down to her since she goes to an elite school, but she is a black student. And yeah, so shit goes down, and then turns out there's a whole other world that's waiting for Amari to discover, and just that's the tip of the iceberg. I really loved seeing Amari grow as a character and the different adventures she goes on. Very Nevermore sort of vibes, but just I love that kind of a story. So yeah, definitely loved this so much. Next up was my big book drawer. So I ended up pulling out one of the Vampire Academy books that are over 500 pages. So I ended up reading Frostbite, which is the second. That's how this system works. So yeah, ended up reading this. I gave it a 3.5. It took me a while to get in, and I think I remember the same happening with the Vampire Academy, but I really enjoyed it, so I want to keep going. and it's like the ends always seem to come, you're reinvested in the characters and you're just feeling it. I feel like I should just binge read the like last bit of the series. I'm not going to because ludicrous, but definitely keen to continue on and just enjoy this. I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure, but it's not something that is going to rock my world, so it's not always, it's not going to be a higher rating, but I still really enjoy it when I'm reading it. Honestly, I did think this was going to be worse than it was, so I'm quite happy with a 3.5 for this. Next up, I read Pachinko by Minjin Lee for Monica's spot, and this gave me a bingo! Oh my god, I was like so stressed. So this is an intergenerational story following Koreans who immigrate to Japan during the war, and holy shit, I did not realize just how ignorant I am. And like, I know that I don't know a lot, but this really just opened my eyes to how little I know about different cultures, different ways of just being, like, culture, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, for me, this was so beautifully written, exploring all the different identities throughout the generations and challenging those racial stereotypes, challenging the ideas of who these people are and how they get in the situations that they do was just amazing. I definitely, Mum wants to read this, so I think I'm gonna lend it to her so she can give it a shot. There is one other book that she is probably gonna read before this, but I think she might take this home with her so then she can actually read it when she feels so inclined. But yeah, definitely highly recommend this. It's such a thought-provoking and amazing read. Scrap my ratings, this one's a 5 stars. Next up, we had one of my punishment prompts which scooted its way to the top, and that's The Black Flamingo by Dean Hatter. So like I said, these aren't going towards any Booknetathon prompts, they are just covering the punishments because I had extra spins. So The Black Flamingo is about Michael, who is discovering his identity, and this was so beautiful. I gave it a 4 stars. I really enjoyed the intersectionality that occurs. I really enjoyed Michael's discovery. I loved it being in verse. I loved finding yourself and who you are. It was missing something and I don't know what. So yeah, highly recommend, like, just being able to explore the different aspects that are in it. And yeah, it was just so beautiful. And finally, for my other punishment is Lowest Rated, and that was Fly Away Peter by David Malouf. This caught me by surprise. I know on the back it's talking about fucking birds and more birds and birds, but I didn't realize it was about birds. Like, I have not read the synopsis, I had no idea, and then I was like saying to Mum, this is a lot of birds, and she reads the back and she's like, have you not read the back of it? I was like, nope. And didn't change my enjoyment levels. I think even knowing it was about birds, I still would have given it a 3, but this is following Australians who go to war, and yeah, they sort of link it together through different birds and being a wildlife photographer and things like that. So yeah, it was really interesting. Definitely not something I'd usually go towards, so I'm happy that I've read it. I probably will be unhauling it. David Malouf wrote Ransom, and that really hit differently, so I want to get a copy of that again, but I don't think I want to hold on to this. It was fun while I read it, but I think it can go into someone else who will have a better appreciation for wartime stories and birds. Such a niche. But yeah, so that was my last punishment, so no book Batman for June, although I'm doing things, so yeah, that's really can't be spending money, so that's fine. So these are all the books that I read in May, and honestly I am so proud of all that I got accomplished. I know it wasn't what I set out, that was fucking 20 something, 22 books, something ridiculous, but the fact that I managed to get this beautiful pile fills me with joy, and it was a great reading month. So yeah, Let me know in the comments, how did your reading in May go? Were you happy? What was your favourite book of May? And yeah, if you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe. And I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!